I just first we start with everyone if they're to take a quick breath. I want to thank everyone for being here. It's just like an order rain, it's the note the mother really let's come out. Thank she honored the beaters. And so today I wanted to talk about strength beyond limits. And I don't know how many of y'all in your life go see we got and mixed it. You know when you're not the other. I wanted to talk today about streets beyond limits. And I first wanted to ask how many of y'all have ever felt limited in your life? Whether it's the story that we were told, maybe it's a false narrative, how we grew up, what we were told to do, whether we were a boy or a girl, to act and behave. And so those things that all, oh, now that might done. So we talk about strength beyond limits. So first have to look at our what limits us in our life. What are the things that are the false stories that you tell ourselves? And so what am I to talk about is how my story, how I was able to make us my mates in my life. Okay. So I like to talk about my life and what I've been able to believe on a highlights. So I went overcame sexual trauma. I've overcome abuse. I've overcome miscarriages. I've overcome grief. I've overcome this divorce. And what I found through all of those things was they were not limits. They were just false beliefs. They were action what gave you the strength to keep moving on. And I found that all those things were not happening to me. They were happening for me. They were happening for me. You have to start looking at what are the things that you're limiting. Oh, it's okay. Is that? It's like I have to. Uh, it's that I'm used to my little free mic, so I'm really apologize for that. But that's something too that we just have to look at of what are the things that we want to let go of. Are there any stories that you've been told in your life that maybe you have to act a certain way, that maybe you have to perform a certain way, maybe you have to get married, maybe you have to have children? And so there's so many times that we get told these things that we feel are limited, and they start to weigh us down. And then before you know it, you're living other people's lives, and these limited that we think that we don't have the strength. And so the strength is with they. That's where spirituality came in. And I loved and learning with the sound music, whoever was here to sound that. And if you could feel that, you could feel the strength and that music at the frequency, because it's all of y'all coming in here. It's all of your energy there that is coming as a collective to say that we want to move through this. And so I'm just pretty happy for all the children that you too. Well, children have been really, really fun to see because y'all are Egypt. These are the ones that hope that they don't have those limits that we have placed on ourselves. And so I want to talk about the different kinds of limits that we have. And one of the biggest moments that I had in my life was fear. And how I get fear is forgetting everything already you remember. And so when I have fear, I have to remember that who am I? Who am I past my limits? Because fear is something that's just there to block it. It's motivation. And so when you look at that fear and we really face it, you know how you make fear disappear? You have to look at it. It's be the opposite. We have been told what not to do. We have been told to not look at that. And in order to make the fear go away, you have to be brave enough to do that, to have the strength to know that's what's going to push you through. That's what's going to break you through that. That's what that. And then we have the traumas. We have so many different traumas in our life that we don't talk about. We don't talk about what happens to us. We don't talk about the beat. And so trauma is a thing that would get scored in our body. And that really limits us. That really limits how we're going to move in the road. Was we don't realize that we're even having for your patience on that way. And so I hear for me, my trauma, I pressed it down. I was molested very young, and I did not really talk about it just others in my 40s, so very recently. And looking back at my life, see all the things that I did, and all my miscarriages, my infertility, and I had my beautiful miracle baby.
that those things were the most traumas that I didn't talk about. And so I learned that the first thing I have to do is honor it. Honor what happened, talk about it, feel the anger. I think sometimes we did so wanting to feel anger. And anger is a good emotion. And so I really had to dive into the anger side of it, and then the forgiveness. The forgiveness, what do you do with that anger? What it is you don't want to get stuck in the anger. You want to move it in it. You want to move through it. The only way to move through it is to let it out. Is to let it out and let everyone know what you are and how you overcome that. So I work with a lot of clients on the first identity is a safe space. It's a safe space to say the trauma, to say what's limiting, to say your beliefs that you no longer serve you. And so create that safe space. You open that chant, and it's the chakras. And I do your forgiveness method where we start with the root, and we start the other series, the meditation, and the chakras line up. And that's where all our power sources out. That's where we store everything. So we have to start letting these limits out and see that they're not really limiting us. It's our mind that limits us. We have to move from our head to our heart. We have to be able to, that is what makes this a difference. That's what makes us you, is being able to feel. And unfortunately, sometimes unfortunately, we're not allowed to feel truly how we are. And you think about a little kid that's running around and they scrape their knee and they think it's the worst thing that ever happens to him. And then as a parent, they come in, pat him on the head, say it's okay. It's okay, stop crying. What does that tell that child? What I'm feeling, this fear, this awful thing that happened to me is not okay, and I'm not safe to prop it. And so we do these little stories in our head, how we pass it on to our children, or it's passed on to us, because we don't make you see and understand that we are telling more, it's not okay to feel. It's not okay to cry. And so I had to learn in my life that that was the first thing, that right emotions were actually the most powerful thing I had. To be able to feel and to walk through and feel that I can feel the anger, I can feel the pain, I can feel the hurt, but I also feel the sadness, joy, every emotion. And so what happens is when you start feeling that, it starts coming out and you start, who are you? Who are you? Because that's the first thing I always ask my clients is, even imagine I have very one and I'm not here, and every wish you want, every wish that you want, I can grant you it now. I can just look at you and say, okay, what do you want? Everything your most wildest dreams. Do you know what that is? Do you know what you want? Do you know who you want your higher self to be? And that's what happens is we are presented that and we don't know. And so we have to go back, and I do a lot of inner trial work because I truly feel like that's where we need to heal, is go back to that little kid, that little girl that said, maybe I'm going to be anything you wanted to be. You cannot be that because you had to pick society. You have to pick in this limit. You have to put in this box. But Wesley told every kid, whatever you want, you can be. You can be. But you have to first ask, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be someone of power and wealth and free houses, or do you want to just live your life free? And so what happens is you really have to start looking at the limit of the mind and see they're actually our greatest strength. It teaches us about ourselves. So I struggled with addiction for a long time. And I had 5 miscarriages. I went through many infertility things. And I learned to numb the pain. I had only given pain. It was too painful. So when I gave birth to my daughter, the first thing I got was pain medicine. So what do you think that did? It taught me to numb the pain. It taught me to take it away because I didn't want to feel it. I didn't think I was strong enough. I thought it was a limit. I thought I was Guy's story. I was a victim of this. It happened to me. But now I know it happened for me because I am the most amazing mother now because of my pain. My 16-year-old daughter is a true person. She's a true miracle. She is what taught me that. And I'm not my addiction. My addiction was a beautiful tool
to keep me engaged, and I did not check out as best as I could. So the first 7 years of her life, I struggled with pregnancy. It was this derpy little secret. I went to the doctor. It was all, just by the doctor. But nobody stopped. The first time I had a miscarriage, nobody stopped and said, here's a cardboard counselor or therapy. No, I got a prescription to take medicine and for a value and sleeping medicine. That was my prescription. Nobody stopped to tell me that this isn't going to link at you. This could be your strength. You just have to feel the pain. And so I started to process that and learn how to numb it. And then finally, I couldn't continue. I was living my life in a big secret and a big dirty secret. But what it was I didn't like myself. I didn't like who I was. And I started wanting to pay attention to me. Anybody get issues with. And my husband at the time wasn't necessarily paying attention to me. I just was waiting for someone to see me, to see my pain. See my pain, because when we act the worst, we need to be loved the most. That's what it is, because when we act the worst, there's a reason why we're acting back. And so when you have children acting out, be curious. Why are they doing it? If they're withdrawing, if they're getting angry, if they're frustrated, there's a reason why they're doing it. You have to be curious. So ask these steps. And so I started to, I discovered I don't want to live this anymore. And my light hanging blew up in front of my eyes. And my mom called me because said, B, just get up. I see you hurting. Before she even uttered the words, I said yes. I was just waiting for someone to tell me I was worried now. Instead of me feeling worried, I was sitting around, waiting, just dying inside every day, waiting for someone to tell me I'm worthy enough. But now I know today I am worthy enough. I'm worthy enough to feel I'm worthy enough to deal with it. I'm worthy enough to sit in knowing today to tell my story. These are my most vulnerable things I've been for. And sexual abuse, these are things that have made me the woman I am. I'm not a victim. I'm not. They're not my limits. They're actually what strengthened me. And so I got offered to take this beautiful treatment for the 6 weeks. And it was the first time in my life I learned how to feel. Nobody taught me how to feel the correct way. And so one of the things that we did there, you don't do tissues. When someone's crying, you hand them a tissue. Because again, subconsciously, when you're crying and I give you a tissue, it's because I'm saying this makes me uncomfortable and please stop crying. Okay? And so those are those little things we don't even realize that it's making us uncomfortable to actually see somebody else feel. And that's the hardest thing we have to do sometimes is hold space for other people. And that's what I like about being a mom. It's my job of being a mom. It's not to take the pain away. It's to teach her how to walk through her or being. Like I stop. It's not to wipe her tears away. It's to say, let them out because they will come out and they will stop. And I was thinking about the rain earlier, and thunder, and how beautiful the rain is, because it's cleansing. It's cleansing. It's the tears that cleanse us. Because when we hold on, there's no release. It's like a cloud, and it just builds and builds and builds, and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And then before you know it, you can't take it. You can't take it, and it just comes down. And so I would just offer everyone one advice that I put is don't be afraid of those tears. Don't be afraid of rainy. You say, oh, I'll show up today. There was a lot in my life this week that could have limited me from getting here. And the weather was horrible. I was like, oh boy, yeah, we're 5 hours and an hour here in the rain. And I'm like, it's not going to stop me because it means to pine, but you know the sunshine is coming. The sunshine always comes. But are you learning to dance in the rain? Are you learning to appreciate that's what waters the grass? That's what we need. It's the cycle of life. So we need the anger, but we need the pain too. So that's how I learned to start feeling my pain and honoring it and seeing as it's going deeper to be able to feel. That's the strength. That is the strength of being so vulnerable that you share that, but know you're worthy of hearing that. And so as I learned that, it was my first time in my life that I was sober. Who was I when I was sober?
Who was I when I didn't hide from alcohol, when I didn't hide from medicine? I had no vice. It was scary. It was one of the scariest thing. Like I said, when I say, I'll give you anything you want, what is it? And sometimes you don't know. And so that's where I started, because I started with, who do I want to be? Who is my most authentic self? And I found out it's a story to tell. I love transweaving my pain into purpose. I wrote my book on that, from healing my inner child. It's about taking my pain and turning it into purpose. So then that's where that passion is. That's where you get your strength, say, oh, I know why. I know why it happened to me. It happened for me, so now I know how others. And so every time I walk in the fight that's gone through something like me, it makes my strength even stronger. My story is my strength. It's not my limit. There's so many times we get stuck in our limits of our story. And it's not that. We're so much more. I truly believe the most authentic you can be is love. It's just love. That's what it all comes down to. I always say it's either fear or love. That's it. What are you going to choose? Those are the two basic emotions, and everything comes from that. But are you acting out of fear? Or are you acting out of love? And the one thing that I was missing is a selfie. I don't know about you, a lot of mothers, but I could give the love away. I had no problem giving a love to my children, but I didn't have it for myself. I couldn't do that for myself. And so I took those 6 weeks and I made that love. I learned how to parent my inner child. I learned how to heal those wounds that maybe my parents didn't know. They did the best that they could. It's not blaming. I know blame my parents. They went beautiful. They raised 3 beautiful daughters that they have their own from, that they passed down. And that's what happens is we don't feel our trauma, we pass it down to our children. You just do, because they watch us. They're like the little spongy. And I'd love to be up here dancing, just being them and the bravery y'all have for being up here. It literally moved me to tears to see that. Because do we all remember being innocent and our imagination and being like, we could be anything. We didn't have limits when we were a kid. You know where our limits came in? When the world told us, no, you can't do that. What, you're not fast enough. No, you're not smart enough. I didn't go to college. I went for a little bit, didn't do good. It was not my place. I'm back in school now. I'm back in school now and I'm studying TV conscious state. Ace here. And I didn't know, so actually, it was just a couple months ago when he said, why didn't you go back to school? I can't do that. I'm not smart. I'm kidding me? Like, I'm like B's, C's, D's. There's no way. My brain doesn't think that way. I was a musician. I was an artist. I loved all that. And so I instantly had that limit in my mind saying, I'm not smart enough. I instantly went back to that little girl that couldn't pass a class, and he was not smart. And so I thought about it. This is how spirit just works in my life. I woke up at the known light, and I started looking, and I got into school. And it's in my youth, Maharashi International University. It's online. But I need to get my degree in consciousness and human attention. I get to study all these topics that are with that. I get to study about wisdom and in meditation, how that changes your life and how it changes the consciousness of not only you, but the consciousness of the planet. And how we're raising that. And all y'all are here to meditate. It's for yourself, but it's awesome for this room. I could feel the energy. Y'all were so calming this morning. It was beautiful to feel, because that's what we need. You need the calls, you need the strength, you need the love, but we need the quiet. You need the quiet. Every morning when it's rumbling, and you find the calmness in that storm. And you find that. And you find that and be like, it's okay. It's rumbling to tell me something. And so all this stuff inside me was saying, I'm not good enough. I was like, you know what? I'm changing that. I am good. I am working up for education. That maybe that system was my limit. Maybe the system wasn't working for me. So let me find a system that I can excel in. And so I found this beautiful school, and I'm learning things that I never thought most when I'm getting A's. And it's just the most wonderful thing for my daughter to see. And so she's going to graduate in 2 years, and I'm going to graduate at the exact same time. And it's just that bonding. And Murray has. But what if I would have limited myself? What if he would have asked me that, and I just went with that boy? and said, well, I'm not smart enough. I would have missed out on some of the best opportunities of her life for speaking. I can't speak. I don't know what to say. I'm nervous. I can't do that. I have to take those limits and say the nervousness I was feeling earlier, it's excitement. It's excitement. It's energy. That's all it is energy. We get to decide what that energy is. So I can say this was nervousness is I'm scared, or I can say it's excitement because I know something good's going to happen. All I have to do is show up. All I had to do was show up, which this week something came up and I didn't know how I was going to get here. Show up. That's all you have to do. That's all your job is to be here and be your most authentic self. But you had to know who that is. And I didn't know who that was. And so I discovered that. And so when I got out of my addiction, when I learned to be my most authentic self, how was I go, okay, this is Siri. I don't think I'm loving here. I don't think this person is for me because I wasn't being authentic. And it wasn't his fault because he married the person I was. He married those limited beliefs. That girl that thought I would just go to be a housewife and stay home and have the most gorgeous home and just stay wise and sit by a pool. That wasn't me. It was this little voice inside saying, we're dying a little bit every day, but you don't honor your tree, that you don't honor who you are. So I wasn't that spiritual. I always had stuff and I liked it, but I was not being myself. I just stayed in a safe turtle box. And so as I started feeling this and honoring this, the next scary thing was, what are you going to do? How are you going to break this person's heart? And all I had to do was go to bed and no, it's not about him. It's about me. It's my story, me. I get to be authentic. Here I am. Do you like this person or not? And that's what happens is sometimes you grow apart because you're not being the most authentic self. And now, the person I am now is nothing like that person. So walking them divorce is scary hard, and I've never told my parents. And the first thing they said was the children, my daughter. They felt like you worried, you never can do the worst thing. And I told my mom, what if this is the best thing that happens to my daughter? Because I cannot protect her from pain. I can't protect her in pain where she gets her heart broken. I can't protect her when she fails class or she doesn't get into quiet. I can do that, but guess what I can do? I can teach her how to yak through something really hard and find a strength in it and see that it is for that. But sometimes you don't get what we want. We don't get what we really think we wanted that's perfect. And so I would say it was this beautiful opportunity for my child to see that, to see two parents that were able to separate, but she got to see her mommy grow. And she lives with me, and I get her full-time this now. And she's the most beautiful thing by seeing my street. It's teaching her to walk through her limits. But again, go back to that woman that was scared to get divorced. But here am I. How am I going to make a living? I'm a housewife for 15 years with no education. What am I going to do? So what if I went in there and I went those limits? What if I stopped? I was like, I can't do this because I'm limited. I don't have any computer, don't have any money. She would have missed out on the one and I put today if I would have let mighty millions of my mind. And again, this is limits of the mind. This is not limits of the heart. It's the limits of what we think we could do. So if you don't think you could do that, I guarantee you're probably not going to do it. We would have been a yes universe. The universe will do everything around. You say yes. If you're like, I'm not worthy of, that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to get. But when you start opening that up, saying, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of finding a partner that gets me, that gets to be my most authentic self and feel safe. And so I walked through that divorce with kindness and grace. And the day that I filed, he came over and I invited him to sit by the pool and we watched the sunset. And I said, I would love for you to come watch the sunset and honor to have 15 years of marriage. Because there's beauty in the sunset. There's beauty in it. You just have to find it. You just have to be brave enough to know what's on the other side of that and know that that sun's going to rise the next day. Now, you don't get away from pain. That's the other thing. There's pain in it, Chris. Pain in it. There's beauty in the pain. There's beauty in the rain. Because in the sun comes, in the rainbow. You have to have rain to have a rainbow. You just have to. So are you going to just wait for the rainbow or are you going to wait and you're going to enjoy it and see that this rain is a gift of cleansing. So all those tears I cried, it literally washed you away from who I was. And so I was set free, and I started this journey a couple of years ago. And again, who am I going to be? I'm going to be me. I'm going to use my own story to help others. I always wanted to help others. I've always had a passion. I've always felt like there's a reason a lot of things that happened to me. A lot of bad things that happened to me in your life that would have really stuff you back. And I didn't let it. And that's what I've learned in my life is more that I go through these painful things, the stronger I am. The stronger. It's like working out. You don't get stronger by not going to work out at the gym and sweat and feel uncomfortable. Muscles get stronger in a pain, in a repetition. So I just show up that visit. I just show up every day. And what I do every day is meditate. I meditate in the morning and at night. And I was so blessed and the fiance does too. Together, morning and night. And it has changed our relationship. That whole year we've changed it. It's for the better because every morning we set our intentions. Sometimes we do it by ourselves because I need a little retech sometimes. He doesn't mind, but for me, I do a lot of writing, and that's why I go first is the source and God. And so I need those moments that I have this partner here that wants to do these things with me. And if I would stay in my ignorance to believe that I wasn't worthy, that partner will not come up in my life. That I claimed it. And I said, I am worthy of having someone be right next to me and hold space for me when I'm crying tears and I'm going through the worst imaginable thing that you could go through. And he holds space. And I hold space for him. And it's the most beautiful thing ending our day together, because you don't go to bed angry. You leave it in the meditation. We have a little room, God meditation, maybe the healing dojo. We leave it in there. I go to there sometimes, I scream, I cry. I've been on the floor begging God to help them when I didn't feel that I was hurt. But I was hurt, because the next day I got up, and the next day I got up, and the victory would. I'm a warrior, and I give up for any day. Is those battles I look back in. You, when meditation is so important to me, because it brought me back to source. It brought me back to God if I understood it. It brought me back to that oneness. We get lost in this world. We get lost in our beliefs. We get lost in these systems that are not built for us. They're not built for us to rise. A lot of these systems, unfortunately, are built to keep us with the clocks. You know, man, I'm not made the box. I'm the built the box. I'm gonna be known up, and I'm gonna step on it, and I'm gonna speak my story. And so when I meditate, I get to let all that go. I get to let it all go for peace. How many times y'all felt meditation at just peace? And maybe it's 1 second. That's what happens when a lot of people are worried, afraid in meditation at first, because they think it's this instant thing. And they, it's okay, you know, enlightened, and I'm up, and I'm hanging out. That's not how it happens. You have to flip through those moments, and you are having all these flooded thoughts. And how do you keep going back to cinema? How do you keep going back to self? It's the same thing in life. It's the same thing. Meditation is the same thing. If you take the time to center yourself, you'll be okay. I always say, I'm not selfish. I'm self-centered. I put myself in the center of my universe. Because when I do that, I'm a way better mom. And I'm a way better person. And so meditation has been such a way for me to see all these limits, and they literally just yelped out my mind. And at the end of all those limits, I'm just left with me. I heard a thing that they said, in 10 years, there's no guarantee who's going to be alive. Think of it left and right of you. There's no guarantee of them being your life. But you will. You're still going to be here. That is the only guarantee. You're my daughter, my fiance, I don't know. So why don't I put my best foot forward for myself? Why wouldn't I put it that I'm the one that is controlling this narrative? I get to decide what limits me. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I am my own limits. I'm my worst enemy. I don't know that's all, but a lot of times native talk things in. And native talk is such a big one. And I used to be as sticky as affirmations. Affirmations are such an important thing because it rewires the brain. Just like meditation, it teaches you to find the peace in the chaos, right?
So at the beginning, this was a little hard piece with all the booping noise because my little brain, and I'm used to the quietness, right? Yeah. No, I got to push through that. Can I find the calmness? Can I find the rhythm of my voice? And that's what that is patient at. Is teaches Hefrenia. And so it's really important for that. And so as I get on in my life, I started working with a lot of clients. And I started realizing legacy. The number one need people have with limits was being able to heal, was being able to feel the emotions. I can't be angry. You know, I have to be this perfect little girl, and I can't tell my husband I don't want this or I don't like this. And I started noticing, oh yeah, I can't do this. I have to be masculine. I have to be strong. I can't cry. The most vulnerable thing, the most attractive thing my Parker does is be vulnerable. Is be vulnerable. And when I see him with my daughter, the way he opens up and has just embraced him as his own, and they cry tears together, that is beautiful. Yeah. Because when you saw him, he's this big furry engaged, it's tears, and he doesn't look like that. He doesn't let that limit because he's worthy. He's strength to find through the emotions that I can cry, and I give him that space to cry. And so I started working with a lot of people that had limited on healing it. Where do you think his feelings go? When you don't cry and you don't scream, do you think they just magically disappear? No, they get stuck inside of it. They get stuck inside those power centers, and they get stuck and they start being these blocks. Start being bigger and bigger and bigger. Before you know it, you feel like you're surrounded by boulders. You're stuck in a hard place and you don't know what to do. And so the first thing I do is teach them how to fear, how to bring it back to ourselves and trust. Trust that you are not in limits. Your feelings are not limiting you. They are actually your freedom. They're your freedom to the other side now. And so I just encourage everyone to think about that. What's an emotion that makes you not feel comfortable feeling? What's a thing that you don't know that how to build career? Maybe I should sorry it's in that. But how do you move through that? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about finding your strength in it, but what that looks at. What strength really looks like. And I feel like we're in a very interesting time right now in society and culture that we're starting to get the discernment of what we're like and what we don't want. There's a lot of stuff going on that right now can get really scary. And I go again, you have two choices, fear or love. What would fear do? What would fear do if you're scared and you risked anything going on? It is scary. But that's where I go back to go back to love. Bring it back to self. Bring it back to source. We can actually do this. People like you that come and meditate are willing to give that a rainy Saturday to come here and this beautiful place and event. Those are the people that are going to help us move on these limits that we have in our cultures as societies. Because we're not that. We're not the stories that we've told. We're not supposed to get each other. You look at little children, they don't know the difference. Again, bringing it back to the inner child. They don't know the difference. All they know is lie until it's introduced to them. And so one of my kings and my like is working with clients is starting to take that narrative and shifting that, helping them re-heal the wounds. I work with a lot of vets. And you want to talk about struggles, that they come back, how things that they have, and the things that they go through, and the things that they feel about themselves. And a lot of it is birthdays. A lot of it is who am I now? Now but I'm not in girl. Who am I now and I'm not a mother? Who am I now and I'm not a father? I work with the other one people. How they boss children. How am I and a jerk have the days that used to limit to me? So put me in that box. Am I able to be past those boxes? And so we really work with, again, going within, meditating, quieting, so you can hear. You can hear those thoughts direct looking source from God. It's meditation that has literally saved my life because it's telling me who I am. It's talking, it sits and I keep thoughts. And the longer I sit and I have thoughts, it disappears. And I'm like, they're just thoughts. They're not reality. And that's what happens is we get a little lost and our thoughts become so life-staking in our reality. Again, that's your verse. So if I keep saying every day, I'm not smarty. Every day I wake up and look in the mirror. I'm not smart enough. I'm not frigid enough. What do you think that's going to do over time? It is look and create that power, create that thought. And then it becomes my belief. And then that belief becomes my reality. So what if I wake up every day and I look pretty and I say, you're beautiful. You're perfectly made. You're allowed to make this sound. You're a good person or a good mother, despite maybe what the universe is telling me. What do you think that I do that every time? And then about maybe 10 minutes later, I'm not worthy. And I switch it and say, I am worthy. And you have that almost battle in the mind. I don't know if you felt that meditation. You sit things that feel like that battle with the thoughts. And what happens is you have to be with it. You have to honor it. Oh, you're just a thought. You're just a thought. I can change in the God. I said, if you start saying that, you start talking to yourself better. Self-negative talk is one of the worst things you can do. It's actually way worse than someone saying to us. Because when someone says to us, you kind of have the desire to beginning or believe it or not. But we sing to ourselves, well, no, if I'm saying it's real. And so you really work through getting to those limits is understanding that your mind is the limits. It's the limit is what sets you free and neutral your apart. We are not our minds. Our minds is beautiful being. I do what the work as a reminder. It's important to have us. We need that, but we also need the quietness. Also need the strength of A. Where it's so funny the other day, I hear Kaki's beautiful voices, and I thought so pretty. I thought so is after like that. And so what it is pretty back to that of the clearly but balmy. And it's okay to just check having fun. But it's my like distraction. And so I get carried and push through that, push through that. But I'm gonna start opening up to those bikes. I can be quiet on a storm. I can finally fall in the chaos. I just have to think that and I have to balloon light. So you start ordering with those thoughts, and then they become the demise, and then they become a new story. And guess what happens? That already old swirling goes away. Goes away. You curry nerd, I shouldn't believe when I look in my times for healing. We don't bunker every case in the frame. I don't believe in that. I do not think healing should be suffering. And so a lot of people are afraid to go to the cast because they're so afraid to feel that sound. But what if part of healing our cast is just learning to love? Because every time I replace it with love, those things go away anyway. Because the more listen I started doing it myself, I'm like, oh, that person that owed me when I was old, that's his problem. That's his being that he is trying to put on me. And so I learned to forgive. And I can say today, I have forgiven God with you wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. This forgiveness, forgiveness was forgiving the shame back to him. And forgetting is forgetting your power back. And so when I had this moment of I had a very spiritual journey, and I had God next to me, the essence of God, and the energy of my perpetrator. And I looked at, and I was like, and I saw seeing the, and I was like, this God was saying like this is all that came. And I gave it back like it's his. And then I'm there, and I start seeing he's of the same desire as me. Ultimately, he is of the same lie as me. That's it. And so I got it in that moment of the forgiveness is not about that person. It's not about that person. It was what I was holding on to. I was holding on to someone else's speed. And that's what we do. We capture pain onto each other. And just keep conflicting it instead of dealing with it and letting it go. And so I gave it back. But then once I gave it back, I really understood the power of it. I brought my power back saying, you no longer have a place in my life. You're not going to be a limited one. You're not going to do that. And so walk through life, and I can say, I did through some of the hardest things, and I had forgiven everyone. But that comes with boundaries. Boundaries are not forgiveness. Forgiveness is saying, you take this time, I'm giving the pain away, I'm giving your shame back to you, that I'm getting my power back. And with that power, that comes boundaries. And so I learned to have boundaries the first time in my life. I didn't understand what boundaries were. I didn't know to say to go to someone because I don't really like to say no.
I don't feel like going. I need this, I need that. I do not know how to stay calmly. And so I held on to that trauma for a long time because I didn't tell anybody. Just like my addiction, it's a dirty little secret. And I say dirty because that's how I felt. That's the shame I was carrying around. And shame is one of the hardest things we can do. Because when we feel shame, it's because we think we're the only ones. We think we're the only ones that want us to be bad. Not here to tell you I done pity of my.
I don't claim I had the addiction. I had it on there. As so many things happened in my life that I could be ashamed of.
So when I let that go, and no, that's not me. That was me acting out and pain. Because the healed version of me will never do those things, ever. And so I look at that of how beautiful it is to see that once I let go of that shame, I just naturally became the person that wouldn't be able to fight. But if I walked around carrying that, then God did this one thing, and now I'm not hurting for the rest of my life. I would be walking around with that limited belief that I want to be who I am today. And so I learned to give that away. And I learned forgiveness is the greatest gift we can give. Unfortunately, what I've also learned is we haven't been taught the right way. We have not been taught the right way to forgive. We have been taught to forgive because even the Bible tells you, parents tell you, just need to do it. We don't understand what forgiveness is. It's not adopting that person. Unconditional love. I don't know that how many people can say they ever felt unconditional love from another human. Even yourself. So we start working about unconditional love in others, and we're not even willing to stop and give that same love to ourselves. And so it starts with the unconditional love. Are you gonna love yourself through all version of this? Are you gonna love yourself with all mistakes? Are you gonna still look in that mirror and get up the next day? Say, yep, I messed up yesterday, but I'm funny. Are you going to give yourself that grace? Because if you don't give yourself that grace, nobody else is. Nobody else is. Your partner's not going to save you. Nobody's going to save you till you're worthy enough to say, I'm saved myself. And so I've learned to be a strong female and being in mind to dire Indian cow. That's the best thing I can do for my partner and for my daughter. When I treat me that we are all that's my feminine and masculine, but it needs to be balanced. And I was off balance. I didn't have that strength, that masculine, that thing that just told me that I could. And I was always just like, I would see my partner just walk in the room and his strength. And I'm like, how do we do that? And I did have that. And so I learned how to dig in and find that strength, that girl got power, but to do with the softness of being the mother of a woman and how beautiful that is. And I find so much strength in being a woman. Because I need the male balance, but I am helpful just a layer too. And so it's been a great thing for me and a daughter, and my partner is just walking through this journey of this spiritual path. And she gets to grow up knowing these tears, just like he gets being there. They get to get exposed to this and how beautiful it is. And so it just warms my heart because I don't see that a lot. I don't see that kids. And I think unfortunately right now, is we're forgetting about the children. We're forgetting about the limits that we place on more. And my hope was this assurance, you can start changing, this new direction of the earth. It is from the children. It's from saying, you're not your mistake.
When they at the worst, love them the most. Ask them, why were you upset? Don't just punish. Ask, be curious. Always saying, curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity is what's set for free. I am curious every time I misbehave or step out of line from a belief. I look at it. Bring come, go deeper. Don't be afraid of getting off the surface of it because all our actions happen something. And it could just be a thought. Oh, I did that. Or I said something about someone else, but I was feeling unworthy. And I was feeling unworthy because I didn't feel good enough from working or this or that. Have to be curious to go and to shame. I always tell people, don't shame the limits. Just be curious about it. And then once you're curious, you'll start understanding yourself a little bit more. Because that's the thing about me is I understand everything I do. And sometimes you'll false me, I can overanalyze, that's my right. But I understand that I'm doing that. So when your comes up, oh, it's because I'm forgetting you again. that's what it is. So it's like, okay, Shannon, I remember who you are. And the base similar, I'm like, had this. But if you don't stop and do that and you just like a pig, stand there and wait, you're not going to understand it. And you go, this is the opportunity of understanding. And I think that's the difference too. We're thinking about hell, know, and understanding are two different keys in my mind. Know who I am, what I am doing, but understand my path of focus. I know my path for my life. I know every day. And my path is I get to be the most authentic me. I get to make a living now. A woman that was married 15 years did not have a credit card in her name. Did not know how I was going to find a house. And a year later, I am the house. I have a business in my name. And I read book. And I get to ski and find a model job. They're talking about baking. All I had to do was discover who I am and create my life around it. So many times we get these houses and this lifestyle, and you start to create everything around that. And before you know it, we're lost. And do I even like this? Do I even like to live this here? Do I like these things that I have in my homes and the cars I drive? And so I really had to start looking at that. And it's like, no,
All I want to be is just myself. And God will provide the you over the guest supers was been providing. I have a home now. I have a home. I have land. I have this beautiful life that I'm creating. But you end up throwing that if I let my limit my net. And so I look back as the woman I became, and that scared woman that was too scared to say, I need help. I'm hurting. I'm hurting. And I was too scared to say that. And so now my daughter gets to see a woman that cries, that laughs, is angry, that is in love, that has trials in her relationship. She gets to see it all. She gets to witness that because I put myself. And so instantly my daughter is already flipped. And that's where it happened when you start to take a look at who we are, how we come, where we are now, where we are. Are you happy with where you are today? Are you happy with what you're doing? And my hope, my wishes you are. Because it can all go away. None of this is real. None of it's real in the sense of like, this can all go away to mine. That the essence of who I am, that love I have in my heart, that unconditional love I have for myself, no one can take that away. They can take my house, they can take my park, they can get this music, they can now, they can still kill it. They can now. And so it's that knowing that when you look at fear in the face, I just smile now, and I see you don't know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. And so there's days that I have to look fear in my face and smile. But then I'm going to smile good. Literally smile through the pain. The pain is beautiful. There is beauty in the pain. You just can't going to feel it because every time that I've been able to go to the pain, I come out stronger. I come out so much stronger about because I can say I've been manifested some. They're not going to leave. And they're going to, the people is going to put me down. I keep going. And so I just go on for it.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. 15 minutes. Okay, sorry, my phone's there, so I just wanted to make sure. And so I really wanted to see too, which movie did do a little puppy, or you going to see what limits everybody. Is anyone who goes you tips like now with a light? It's really good. Everybody's good? Everybody's good? No, man? Oh, no. That does that. Awesome. All right, so doing that, do lemons thing. Then I'll get back to how I made mine. And one day too. Meditate every day. I journal. I write. I free write because those are those things that I write so fast that I write faster than my ego. I write faster than my ego because I can't think. Just doing it, and then I go back later and look at it because I got to get the ego out of the noise. You got to get the ego out of mind, ego to your heart. And so what happens was I really start going after meditation. It opens up this channel. And I don't know how y'all feel after way very calm and relaxed. that are not in my head and in my heart. And those are when I get the best thoughts. As I wrote my book and I write other books, and I work at finance and there's spiritual obedience and things that come through. What it is I have to be able to change it. And what I've learned in my life is I have to be okay with my stuff and my trauma and my wounds. Is if I'm not going to be a good coach. I'm not going to be a good coach to somebody else and might have it killed my stuff. And so that's something that's very, very important is to continue. It's never ending. Everything I went through is about people and how I got again. No, my journey is just be done. Our journey has just begun because now it ups the level. Now when you're aware, it's a lot harder to hunt you're aware because you're aware of your behaviors. And then you get the choice to change it. But when you're not aware, it's kind of easy. It's like sleeping, you don't know. But when you start waking up and you start noticing these can have that pattern, you start noticing these maneuver, then you're kind of stuck with the idea of what am I going to do with that? It won't go away. It won't go right. And so you have to just keep pushing through and finding that street of what do I want to do. And so with the writing, that really helps Spiria and bringing that temporary. Because sometimes you can get a little bit less vision of it. And so you have clarity in that. And with the everything, it's always the like use it all like group, we all but use a group test. So and as you was doing the sound baths this morning, I could truly feel the frequency. I could feel the vibration of this ring and the love are it being up in the moon. And so that's what I'm gonna offer y'all is open your heart. Are you going to walk out of here today feeling a little lighter? Are you going to let go of some pain in your life? Is there anyone you need to forget? Do you need to forget herself? Is there something that's holding on, that's limiting you from believing in the miracles of the Jigsaw? And if it is, you can let it go. It's just a choice. It's not that hard, but it's hard work. You just have to make your choice. I'm not going to choose that before. And then when the pain comes out, you honor the pain. And it gets easier and easier and easier. Just like meditation in the beginning, it was a struggle to sit with my thoughts. It's struggle to sit with you. There was a struggle. I had to get up from the mirror and say, I'm a good morning. I cannot do that. Well, talk about it, turn the mirror away and kind of look back so I can say. And every day I got closer to one day I looked in the mirror. I closed my eyes and I said, I'm a good mother and I believed it. I believed it. And so there's all these little tools that you have to do. Affirmations. Keep saying it. Don't give up. Don't give up. They always say, don't jump up the way when the miracle happens. Why you should ride that way? And emotions come and it goes. And that's some of the scary stuff about emotions. You know where if I open that floodgate, is turn it off. If I open those tears, what's gonna happen? And so we have peace for me. As soon as I turn them on and what's released, it stops. And I feel better. I'm like, wow, it is kind of easy. So both I'm free. And then I go actual go do something right. And I do it with sanity of my own soul, not burning anybody. Before you know it, I'm about to love. But if you try to stuff it down, you say, oh, I could just love them. I can't be angry. I can't be that as I took a spiritual person at the time. That thing that served me, because I tried it for a while. I tried just eating the bark pine and with no bounties, no anger, nothing. One step for a little bit, to some things that feel like, I'm like, ooh, I don't know about this anger. I don't know. I had to really sit here in this last year of how it serves a purpose. Because anger was actually limiting me. The anger in my heart is limiting me because I wasn't on its speed. I was thinking just it could be well. But anger is a very kind of this too. And so I learned to deal with that. And how I learned is my voice, my truth, my story. I get to say my story. I get to talk. I get to give it all I want to do what feels right for me. And so when I already get anger, I naturally brought it back to zero. I naturally brought it back to the place of there are more than feelings. They're just feelings, guys. They're just feelings. That's it. It's how they are, but not who we are. Every week, being what they stated us at the time. And minutes later, they'll go different. Maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And so it's that thing of that hope. Don't it's hope that you can have a baby. If the rain will stop and you'll see the rainbow and the sound comes out. And learn to enjoy those side steps. Learn to observe the beauty in the empty. Learn to enjoy the unknown.
the nervousness. It's not anxiety. You get to make the choice of it. You get to give your life lead. You get to decide what's leading of us more. And sometimes be peace. Sometimes it's not for others. But for me, that is having I disciplining my life and I get to create my universe. I sure feel like a silver soul that's inside of us. Because we get to get easier. And so I am always a meditate the same way. Garage techniques I do, and I welcome it all. Because meditation to me is quieting the mind to hear God. When I pray, that's when I'm talking. And I actually don't pray that. I don't pray that much because it's tough on my zaspy, right? I don't eat that. God knows. I need to hear the wisdom. I need to hear the inner calling. So I had to point it that. I had to go in. And so many times we go back out. We might really look outside of ourselves, cancers. I don't ask you, but there I saw. First. Now, obviously, it's advice. It starts with read. And if I got able to be comfortable enough to sit with my own thoughts and be safe with my own races, that's horrible. And so it's a beautiful thing to wake up every day and I to set my intention. Who do I want to be today? Who do I choose to be? Every day is different. I get to choose every day, every moment, every second, every opportunity. Someone cuts me off on the way here. Y'all know Texas driver. It was kind of what the easy hang. Al Charles and I thought about it. Maybe they were just in a hurry. Don't take it personal. Maybe they're on the way to the hospital because he's dying in their eye. You automatically very making it about us. There we come. B. They did this to V. Look at it. They didn't about these cells. I don't know what's going on with that. And so that's another beat up really back to result. It really about the other people. Don't worry about what happens when you speak your truth. If it doesn't land, it's okay. There's things I said today that you resonate. Take them home with you. Take them in your heart. If they don't, that's okay too. So tell my clients that I will give you all of what I have, but if it doesn't work, I'm going back out and my life's pretty damn good. And it's okay. You can say your pain. That's not going to change me. I give you the opportunity to face your own pain. Because I faced my pain. And I tell them, I don't ask you to do everything I haven't done. And I can say I have faced every fear in my life. And there's more to come. But when I don't act out of fear, that I remember who I am, it's easy. But it's just such a choice. It's a choice of what you want to do. And so hope on outcome to, when you all leave this room today and you go home and you're singing in your quiet box tonight, take those few minutes. Do you like who you are? Do you like who you chose to be? Do you like the partner you are? Do you like the parent you are? And if you don't, it's okay. Don't shame it. Be curious, boy. If you got upset at your partner, are you acting out with your children out of anger? Be curious. Maybe you were frustrated. Maybe you're not taking enough time to center yourself. Maybe you need to be that scene and put yourself first and see how that works. And so just be curious. Know that life is happening for us. Everything that happens in our life is the greatest opportunity to move past those minutes and see if strength is at our side. You just have to be ready not to go door. You have to be brave not to get off the stage. You have to be brave enough to speak your truth. And it's the strength or thing that I call every day that I like your I like your story. I don't actually know your story. I did that and the doing. I felt every emotion there is. I'm not a creative person. I recommend because that is the beautiful experience. That is why we're here, people. That is why we're here is to feel. That is the only difference between us and the animals. We have the ability to feel so many different emotions. And so when I get lost in the world today of everything going on, it's just a discernment. It's just a choice of what I, and I don't want to choose. Do I want to choose fear? Or do I want to choose loss? And today I choose what? I choose be guilty, beautiful people that opened your hearts to me and my story and let me hold space for you too. So honor what y'all do. It's very beautiful. And I imagine I honor your children. They have a very special place in my heart, children, because I know they're our future. and seeing beautiful girls and smiles up there dancing warmed my heart. So y'all are doing something about magic. Y'all are doing something very magical this year and this event. And so I encourage y'all to keep on doing it because it has just been a blessing in my life, and I was so grateful for being at home and sharing my experience. But thank you for welcoming me to my home. Thank you, Kate, for a wonderful question. I would like to open a Q&A session, but audience here, sir. Yeah, so this session is anybody can ask any questions to her. So we have half an Q&A session with her. So I want to go first. So, so I'm talking about the teenage phase where mothers are now that we were talking. So, is there any tip that they, mom or family and kids needs to do to get out those I like you can't see the bee, to get out of the bed, like children and the anxiety teenagers? I think there's a lot of stuff like that because again, starting with why are they anxious? Why are they curious? So we just have extra energy. School system, are they sitting at a desk 8 hours a day? Do they have anxiousness? Are they anxious what their friends think? Social media, we really perpetuates anxiety. It really does because then you get to know it's instant. What am I feeling today based off of who like to have pictures I go to basketball. And all of us had was really gone with me. And more like to follow more be I'm curious of what it is. But I know you're sucking been having that dialogue because I actually, well, anxiousness is just energy that is easy to escape. That's all it is. Find a positive outlet. Find a quiet meditation, journaling, give or for something to just create that energy and know that that anxiety is there trying to do something. It's trying to say, no, I'm right here. So he creates stuff fast. And that people say is like a dialogue to see them as the identity by the anxiety is not the anxiety that get curious, it kind of get it. Thank you. That was awesome. The floor is open, and anybody, can we have everybody seated, please? Can we maintain some silence? Can we have the decorous? Can you maintain some silence? If kids are not explicit, can you take them? Yeah. People look me to ask some question. And Shannon, this is the crucial for meditation, Margie. Well, Kansu, thank you for coming here and sharing a very inspiring story, actually. Lot of great things for me to take away. If one Russian and do harbors, many of them are very rudimentary, right? Maybe is taking hours of meditation. So you like to hear from me, so let it say praise, but then just stay committed and how can I start their practice. Yeah, I was just asking about how meditation is, and while flying said I would understand many show. The school I go to, to see messaging is similar meditation. And what I do is I make my own. I make my own. Sometimes I start with just quiet, but I usually use a lot. And I help it on the music with clients, but out of weird because I'm biting their minds. I start with music, and someone go do I worship it. Because when it kind of gets them out of their mind and something to focus on, so again, it's that limit belief of limitations, the city, quiet, you have to be a comfortable supper. That's not what it is. It's my opinion. That's not what I found. It's in the sense of where I feel safe. And I think it's very important first you don't feel safe. And a lot of pictures I worked with trauma, sometimes meditation card because it's quite intense scene and you don't know, you have to feel people. Again, it's that kind of uncomfortableness. And so what I found the best way to start meditation is a very comfortable space. You have to be very comfortable with those, because if you're not sitting chair comfortable, and then you say sit there for 30 minutes, that sounds like suffering to me. And so, so find from music, find the light you like. Well, I do incense. I have quite little terminology that is doing dojing is great for all my crystals. Everything that means to me is in my sacred space. So you don't just say you need it, but I would definitely say that when people are having a hard time with meditation, it's because of varying expectation by it. Because there shouldn't be. Meditation is again listening to source, listening to God of understanding. However you get to that, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna affect my life. So there's a lot of different ways to do meditation, and I just encourage people to find the path. Find where you feel the most still and the quiet. You connect the voice to source. That's your plate, and then I think it just expands bigger and bigger, and I do or an hour quiet and do all that. But in the beginning, I just want to use it. I just some things almost like our cheat codes, and we'll make that easy.
All right. Anybody? Any question?
Hello, Shannon. My name is Raj Rimia. I recently came on of this medication. Major attending some of the planters. Now feeling very good after pending. My question is, you have a viewpoint story. I really like the story you have about the strength and lineage and all the strength. I want to know, through the medication, how can you really come up with, how can you find out what are your limits? And some like we start, it's not easy to understand these are your limits. And without knowing, you are limited in that for itself. But to see the strength beyond those limits, how parent can do that, and this medication will at house to see your limits and what else after those limits, if you cross it and pass those limits, what sort of strengths that you can bring to the table? So you can tell something about.
Yeah, that's a great question on how do you even find the limits? What's how many year three? It starts with being friends somebody who goes to blind spots. That's what I say. My partner and I, we were blind spots for each other. And so he helps me. I see things that like my daughter. She's my blind spot. Hey, I'm too close to her to maybe see some things that I need to change my limits. My limits in our parenting. Oh, maybe she needs more chores. So when he first did with us, I saw that. And so for me, it starts with that. But if you're asking on meditation wise, I don't go to meditation to really know my limits. As far I go to, that kind of gets dissolved, if that makes sense. But for me, how I do my limits is being aware of my actions in my everyday life. And so I starts with that. Sometimes you don't even know what your limits are, but you have to be aware. First, where are some saddening in your life? Where are some things that you wanted to change? And a lot of times it transfers into meditation. So maybe someone's having a hard time, they can't meditate because maybe they don't sit still all day. And you go, drinking 10 cups of coffee, watching TV, texting, doing that. So they're probably gonna have a hard time saying, leave all of that and go sit and meditate. And so it really just starts with that of see what are the limits if you're not able to do meditation. That's some of the biggest stuff is learning how to sit still. We just don't know how society to like sit still. And so that's the first thing that as far as like my behaviors, if I like, I start with someone I trust. And that's why I love working with my clients is like, I like you to fix run to hear like your things that maybe needed you will get to decide what goes you. I might offer something to show that doesn't resonate. That's okay. I have a lot of stuff that comes up spiritually. So I do spiritual mediumship of coaching. And it just resonate with them. It's okay. It is already he'll wake that. And so it's just your limits that come up. You know, are supposed to come up. But the biggest thing is meditation for me. Is it bringing those up? For me, meditation is all about bringing it back to love and not in source immunity and oneness. That's like the mind teachings every day. Is I ask by meditate, please help me remember who I am. That far. And if I do that, and in that feeling it. See how that's like scared of it? You do that one thing and you truly believe that, you're not gonna end up. Let's hope that helps.
One last question. Oh, one small announcement. Can you move the cart? Sorry, madam.
Can you move the cars which is blocking the gates here? We have a food trucks that needs to be parked and that needs to serve us food. Please, go visit and see. Those are your cars. Please make sure the place is clean and park them in a designated parking spots. Thank you. The last question.
Hi, Shannon. That's Yujanat from Medication Maju. Thank you for sharing your beautiful personal story and for reminding us that YLD strength, like authenticity and self-love, and the importance in emojis. And you mentioned that when you began your journey into reading and medication, you did not want our good be. So, as parents, how do you ensure that you teach shaded the field and also books?
It's a great question, and that's one of the pieces I wrote as book is sitting your child if it's just striking his book that it's all about rocking blue trauma and a little girl he scares of the dark spirit of the monster. And that really is what pains me is how do I simplify it? So I love to write children's books. How do I simplify it to where child understands? Child understands, an adult should break you. But it's about seeing that the emotions are extreme, but creating the space that feels safe and not punishing that bow, not shaming. So I think as our society, shame caught in answers, just like with detection. I didn't say I had to call it, that felt shamed. And so as children, I think the best thing to do is keep them before shade or blue. And if they don't want to write summer's hat, or they don't want to go to school, or start getting curious why. There could be a cure, they could be down. And so I think that's the best bit she could give is the one thing I have carried out is I cannot rescue her she's that is now my job's mother to take her care her troubles away. It is my job to walk her through how for her to be cut released away and emotionally away. And so you can start with the child too. And stay getting this with some most soupy techniques and then be told by you are provocative, like it can go with then. And like instead of getting out of like yes the back you do the chokers just had the dialogue and then you break the safe space that they press state at the state sees and just begin that and I really what to be putting it like with and I drew it like that children with sponges. So 11 shoe book it. So.